let's open this up. We should speak with Trilochan Sastry, co-founder, Association of the Democratic Reforms, one of those who went up against the government in the Supreme Court and is won. So congratulations to you. R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, is with us. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. Desh Ratan Nigam, political analyst and advocate. Viewers, as a journalist and as a broadcaster of this show, the hard facts are out there. And the hard facts are telling us that something was wrong. That something was wrong for the Supreme Court to come in and correct it. Now, first things first, sir. I want to ask you, Mr. Trilochan Sastry, fundamentally, we know the problems and we know why the Supreme Court struck it down. But where do we go from here? What is the next big step? Do we go back to an old system? Money stuffed in suitcases? Where do we go from here now?
Very interesting question. Thank you. Actually, money was perhaps being stuffed in suitcases earlier, and money was being stuffed in suitcases even after the electoral bonds.
Right.
I think it did not stop that. The electoral bond did not stop money being stuffed in suitcases. That is a separate issue. What this judgment has done is it has to some extent stemmed the rot, because things can rapidly worsen with a formal system being extremely opaque. So that has been reversed. And we talk about international standards. You look at any leading democracy around the world, there are dozens of them. All of them have 100% transparency. So we have at least legally restored that. So this judgment needs to be welcome.
On that one particular point, of course, this judgment needs to be welcome. We must move towards transparency. But I just wanted to ask you, you said 100% transparency other democracies have. Would you say that about the United States, where PACs are allowed, where political action committees are allowed to lobby politicians, give them money, and then hope for favors?
No, I'm not a fan of the United States by any chance. I'm a fan of India.
No, you said 100%, so I was just wondering.
So the American system, we're only... No, sir. Please understand the words carefully. We are talking about transparency. We are not talking about the system.
Okay.
There is transparency in other democracies around the world. And I had not singled out the United States. You are singling it out.
Right.
Here, the electoral bonds had completely made it opaque, and voters did not know who is giving how much money to whom. So that transparency has been restored. So that's it.
That's very, very important.
In line with international norms.
That's very, very important. If you don't know who is funding a political party, if you have no right under the Information Act to determine this, the system inherently is open to manipulation, corruption, etc. The Supreme Court itself has come out and said that, look, at the end of the day, it all comes down to quid pro quo. I'll just quote the Supreme Court. It says that, and here it is yours, the quote, information about corporate contributors must be disclosed as donations are purely quid pro quo. Now, what does this mean, viewers? Why was it a problem? It was a problem because of certain reasons. The first, of course, was the money donated would be through bonds issued by the State Bank of India. So, viewers, while the scheme suggested that, look, donors could happily donate in complete anonymity, this wasn't entirely true, because the State Bank of India would have known who those donors are. And because it is actually a PSU, if a government wanted to play by certain unethical rules, it could have asked the SBI to supply the names of the donors and then called up the donors and said, why are you donating to the opposition? If you do, we will do this or we will do that. And therefore, viewers, we also see a huge section of these particular donations to one particular party and not the others, the BJP, etc. Now, that is what the problem was for the ADR. And of course, the RBI and the EC had warned the government. So I just want to bring you in. You're a lawyer, sir, Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam. Why should today we not be celebrating what the Supreme Court is doing? Why is the BJP still sort of suggesting that, look, we brought in something which was better than what was, may not have been perfect, but at the end of the day, look at the numbers. The numbers show that overwhelmingly from unknown sources, it is the opposition, like the TMC, that got 90% plus funds from dark sources. The Congress got it from 71%. We were much lower.
Yes, Rahul, let me tell you, the question you've rightly raised, now what? The Supreme Court has dealt with the past. Present has been left unregulated, the future has been left unregulated. You go back to the system of cash, there is no law as to regulate that. I still have to read the thousands of pages of judgments which is there. But what impression that I get is the field has been left unregulated. The cash transactions would come in irrespective of any political party. And the Supreme Court, nobody can deny the fact that the system should be transparent. Obviously, it should be transparent. But was this a scheme better than the previous one? Yes. It was far better and superior than the cash transactions that used to take place. We remember, Jharkhand Mukti Morcha cases where huge amount of cash was recovered and so many things were there, buying, purchasing, the MLAs, MPs. So are we going back to the same system? Because today the field is unregulated and the elections are right on your head. So what is to be done now?
No, but why would the government have opted for this opaque system? Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, what was the motivation? Why not let everyone know who is funding you? We're an open, mature democracy. What's the problem? That's the fundamental question.
See, first, it was better than the previous system, one. Second, what happens if you disclose the name? If the government changes, the revenge starts after that. These are the people who voted for the previous government. Let us go after them. So that is one aspect where the secrecy needed to be maintained. And yes, they were subject to audit. Nobody is denying that they were not subject to income tax laws or the audit. If there was any problem, the income tax department can start inquiries and then it can be passed on to the various agencies depending on
but Mr.
which